again. Welcome, Coach.
Um, I will I? Hello, everyone. My name is Bunyamin Osani, a software developer with Bexel Computer and Solutions in Borno. I am calling in from Zaria. Welcome to the fourth session of Django Girls Abuja virtual workshop. So, for today, I hope we all went through the previous session and got up to date with wherever we are. Because today, in fact, right now, we are going to continue from where we stopped. So, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this is my screen right now. Let's go through the tutorial and see what we've done already. We've done Django models, we've covered objects, and we had our model in place. We've created an application, a blog application. The next, I think the next thing we're supposed to do is we're to create a post instead of blog. That's my mistake from last week. This is supposed to be the model we are creating, not that blog model. I hope it's clear to everyone.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
So from last week, although what we learned from creating the blog model is going to stand, but for this time around, we're going to use this particular model. We're going to make use of this particular model.
Hi. Let's just hold on a second. Just hold on a second. I think we'll lost our coach. He'll be in shortly. It keeps telling me time while we wait for coach to come in. Um, you guys can go ahead and check out the tutorial guide that he was just showing you right now. I hope you've been able to follow through the guide I hope you've all been able to follow through. Right. In the meantime, I'm just gonna ask you all something fun. You know, I like having fun, right? Okay, so why do you like to code? Why do you want to code? Right? Why do you want to code? Why did you choose to be in here today? Yes, to better your programming skills, yes. But there has to be something, right? There has to be something unique. What's that unique thing that stands out for you? Can we see this in the chat box just before I put you again? Right? I'm still anticipating your response. Okay, I did a modest says to broaden my knowledge for fun. Interesting. So when you code, you get to broaden your knowledge for fun. I actually really love this because as much as coding is high tech info and really knowledgeable. It is something that you can do for fun. Like you could code to create a game, code to create a very user friendly website, code to create amazing applications, right? So yes, I totally agree with you. I did a more you can gain knowledge while having fun as you code. So I'd like to hear any other person what makes you cool? What's that thing that really really stands out for you when you code? When you think of the fact that yeah, I'm now a Python programmer, I cannot code. What's that unique thing that stands out for you? There's no chat. If I'm not seeing us in the chat, I'm going to ask us to turn on our video camera. Hmm? Everybody, let's turn on our video camera. There are 8 persons in here. Can we do that quickly? I can see Tabitha. Hi, Tabitha. I can see Olubodun. I can see Joy. Olubodun. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. I can see Aditula. I can see Adida. Can you guys turn on your cameras? Let's see you. Let's know who is Adida. Who is Adida? Hello, Charity. Welcome, welcome. How are you today? I trust you. Nobody wants to turn in their video cameras. Like, really? But if I say we are going to this virtual shawarma now, everybody will turn on their camera. Okay, who is up for a virtual shawarma? We are up for a virtual shawarma. Let me see your face. I wish this was WhatsApp, so I'll just gonna put ads. Can we turn on our cameras? Can we turn on our video? cameras. Can I see your face? Can I see you while we are waiting for our coach to join back in? I believe he's having some tech blocks, internet blocks rather. Okay. Wow. Hello, Adewale. Hi, Adito. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I
Right.
got here when I put on my server.
What starts out for you as you code, right? What's that beautiful? What's that thing that motivates, that inspires you to want to learn? Sometimes you're lost. You don't understand what you're saying, but you're still like pushing on, moving forward. What's that thing? Let me know. Can you share with us? You might just be encouraged today.
Really, it seems it's breaking.
I think
It's
Malachi
like
is, but you're not audible.
it's like my network is bad there. Oh.
Can Adetola, can you hear Malachi? Okay. Who is going to share with us their experience? Yes, hi Adedam. Can you go ahead and share with us what really inspires you to keep on coding, keep on doing what you're doing? You're muted.
Okay, yeah, good evening. I should share what?
Just go ahead and share with us what inspires you to keep coding, right?
When I
What inspires you to keep doing what you do, which is coding, which is
okay,
learning?
I answered already now. I answered inside the chat box. I said to broaden my knowledge
I
and
can see that one that I'm
for
speaking.
fun. Yes.
Yeah, great. Okay, I can see our coach is back. Welcome, coach.
My apologies for the disruption. I had a little problem with my computer and internet connection, but Alhamdulillah, everything is fine now, so we can proceed.
We understand. Welcome, coach.
So I'm going to share my screen.
All right, please go ahead.
So, as I earlier said, we're going to abandon the previous blog model we had, and we are going to make use of this post model. So despite the other one being wrong, we're going to keep it, at least since it's our baby, it's our first model. We shouldn't just abandon it. Let's keep it and create another model. So we open our Django YALS folder in the C drive, Django YALS. We go to our blog application, and here we have models. So we fire up our code editor, in my case Sublime. You might be using VS Code. So you power it up, click and hold your models and drag it here. So you can see we have our previous model here. So immediately below it, we are going to hit enter, give 2 blank lines, and start our new model. So, but before that, let's go back to the top here. and import this second line, which you don't have on our own model. So from Django.utils, import time zone. Then we can now go back to creating our post model. Class post model. Just like our previous model, it's also inheriting from this model provided to us by Django. So next, we have author, which is equal to models. So before we proceed, if you check the author for our new post model and the author that we had in our previous model, there is a difference. In the tier, we imported this user model explicitly, which means we are using the authentication model provided to us, user model provided to us by Django. Whereas in this place, we passed a string of auth.user. One of the advantages of Django is that it does not enforce you to use what it has already. So you may decide to have your own different authentication, different user model that you use for sign up, for registration, for logging in, for resetting your password. So Django does not enforce you, does not force you to use its own. So if you have your own, you can easily plug it in. That is why we have this guy. So irrespective of whatever user model you decide to use, Django will always get it right for you. Unlike our own, if you want to use a custom user model, you will have to come here and change it. So let's proceed. After author, we have title, models, the child, max length equals 200. Then we have text, models, the text field. Then we have created date, models, date time field. Then default equals time zone now. So if you also look at this created date and our create date from the previous model, you find out that here we provided this flag auto add now and we set it to true. But in this place, they're using default and calling time zone.now. So another thing is Django allows you to provide default value for whatever field you are creating. So for this one, time zone was imported, which is a date time utility for time, which is time zone aware. Time zone aware in what sense? In that if you are creating your model from Nigeria, it keeps our time zone, it keeps information about our time zone in Nigeria. Since our time zone is GMT plus 1, the time it keeps that information that, okay, so person created this model at a place where the time zone is GMT plus 1. If let's say you are creating it from the UK, from where their time zone is GMT, it will also keep that information. That is the advantage of using this time zone.now. So next, we go ahead to our publish dates. Published date equals models.datetime field blank equals true, null equals true. So if we check our date time field again, our publish dates, From the previous session, we had our published data as just date time field without providing any flag or any parameter inside. While here, we provided blank and null and made them true. This blank and null tells Django that anytime we are creating a new object, even if we did not specify a published date, it should keep it empty for us. For this, our old model, if we were to try creating a blog post without passing in the published date, Django will deny us ability to create it because it expects something to be passed as the published date. Whereas in this case, if you don't pass the published date, Django will not complain. It will keep it empty for you. For whenever you wish to set the published date, that's when Django will not activate it. And if you so wish, you can also provide it at the point of creating your blog post. So after this, then we now have a function called publish. So times in save. So in this function publish is under our post class. So which means this publish is a member of this post. Then you pass self into the function. The essence of passing self is so that you can use it to manipulate any of these fields, whether author, title, text, created it. So since the name of our function is publish, it means that we want to be using it to publish our blog post. So anytime you call this guy, it will help us publish our blog post. So if we on closer examination, we'll see that our published date, which we initially set to be blank and null, which we initially set to be empty, we are now finally setting it here. We're calling timezone.now. Just as in the case of created it, timezone.now calls the current time plus information about your time zone. And it will set it to this published date. After that, it will call save on itself. So that means it's going to save your model after this operation. So next, we have our string representation, so that we don't go to our Django model and see post object 1, post object 2. So let's define it beforehand. So we now return self, the title. So let's look at our complete post model. So just like in the previous session where we created our model without this string representation, it displayed block object 1 instead of showing us the title, which we now later came back to fix. But this time around, we are going to avoid that. We'll define it beforehand as we've done here. So we can go ahead and save our model. After saving our model, we can fire up our command prompt. If we open our command prompt, we can cd into where we have our Django Gels folder. After that, then we now go ahead and activate our virtual environment. My M. Activate. So our virtual environment is activated. Next, we now call Python manage.py. The next step is we're going to make migrations. So for the next set of our beacon that Django is going to do, we are going to provide space for our post model on the tree. So we make migrations, then we hit enter. We wait for Django to detect the changes. So here it's telling us there is a problem. Django expects us to pass this on delete, which is going to help Django determine the behavior if someone deletes this post or the author gets deleted. Let's assume maybe the author of the blog post, let's say he broke one of your rules on your blog site, and you decide to delete him. What is the next action Django will take? That we are going to use on delete model.cascade. So for this one, if you are deleting the posts, if you are deleting the author of the post, which means you don't want him on your platform, it's only logical for his own post for him to take his post with him. So anytime this author gets deleted, the post is going to get deleted as well. It seems some people are complaining about the sound. So others can hear me loud and clear. I think then it's safe to proceed. So after putting this fix, we now save. Go back to our command prompt and run python manage.py make migrations. Then we hit enter. So I can see that Django is trying to give us a warning. Django.details. Okay. Let's come back here. Okay. Ah, this is what's happening. This warning came up because I called time zone.now with these brackets. Unlike our tutorial here, on this place, the brackets were not used. So for that, I'm going to delete these brackets, remove it. After removing it, then I will check which migration file. This is it. Migrations, blog/migrations, the second one with post. I'll go ahead and delete it because I do not want to use that migration file. So I'll go back to blog folder, migrations, and here we have it. So I will delete it. After deleting it, I'll now go back and create the migration again. This time, hoping Django will not give me any warning. Since I'd not saved. So I've saved. Delete. Go back. So you can see now, after saving, Django has created a post model without any warning, which is what we want. So from here on, we'll now go ahead and migrate. Python manage.py migrate. Then we hit enter. So our migration has been applied. Tells us that the application is okay. So next, before anything, let's not forget to add our model, our post model, to our admin site. And for that, we go to our blogs folder. Then we open our admin file. Then from here, since we are already importing this blog from model, so what we are going to do is we'll replace this blog with our posts. So we delete it. Since they're all coming from the same file, then we now come here and replace it with post. We go ahead and save. So after saving, we can now run our server. Python manage.py, run server. Then we hit enter. Our server is up and running without problems. We can now copy this URL, open our browser, paste it, and go /admin. I'm logged in already. So after coming here, we log in. So if I zoom in, you can see that the previous model, the previous blog model we had has been replaced with posts. So since the previous one has been replaced with posts, it's only natural that we open this. If we open this post, we're not going to see any posts. Since the previous model, any entry of the previous model is being bound by it. So for this, we're going to go ahead and create another post. If we open it, as usual, we have this author here. Then we have our title, how to create a blog with Django. So for our text, let's go to lorem ipsum and grab the text that's generated. And go back, paste it here. So for our create date, if you remember from our previous session, we didn't have space. We didn't even have option to specify our create date because we were certain we had our auto now add enabled. So that will not even show you the option to set the create date. But this time around, it shows us the input for the create date, but it has specified the time already for us. So, and here it's giving us a warning. Note that you are 1 hour ahead of server time. So our server time is GMT +1, and our our server time is GMT, and our Nigerian time is GMT +1. If we check our time, it should be 3:41. 3:41, yes. While here it's 14:39. So we set our date to now. We're not ready to publish. We're not ready to publish our blog post. So we can go ahead and save it. So if you save it this time around, it gave us the same, it gave us the title as the representation here instead of telling us blog post 1, or rather post 1. So we'll create another post. Let's call it how to create a blog post with Django part 2. Then we'll go to lorem ipsum, refresh the page for new text, copy it, paste, set our time to now. So you can see here, when we created the first post, although we did not provide publish date, Django did not complain. But since I did not specify the author here, you can see Django is complaining, telling me that I need to correct this error and that this author field is required. So I'll go ahead and set it to myself and save. And you can see it has saved successfully without Django complaining. So next, we're going to check our tutorial book. So we have created our post model. We have made the migrations, and we have applied our migration. We have registered it. We've logged in. You know, we created our super user from the previous session, which shows you the flows here, the flow here. So we now go ahead and we have seen this guy in practice already. This page, we have this post here. You can see we have it. Then the next step to create our own posts, which we've done that, we've created two, in fact. So after that, the next step is to deploy our application online. So even at the beginning of the first session, our coaches encouraged you guys to create your Python Anywhere account and to also install Git, install Python and other softwares. So here we are going to make use of Git, which is a version control system. It helps us keep track of our changes. And we can also roll back to changes we've made. So I already have Git installed and I have my Python Anywhere account already. So from here on, I'm going to initialize a repository inside my Django Girls folder. So I'll start with Git init. So after that, you can see it has initialized. A repository here. So if you take a closer look at our files here, first off, we don't want to send in my M, since it's a large folder with plenty files. If you open it, you'll see a lot of files inside. So we do not want to send it. And another thing, advantage is that Python Anywhere will provide that for us already. So we are just going to focus on sending our code to Python Anywhere. And for us to not include this guy, we're going to create a new file from our Git and call it git ignore touch. So if we come back here, we'll see that another file has been created, git ignore. So we'll go ahead and open it in our text editor, and you see that it's empty. So whatever you want to ignore, whatever you don't want to send to your Git repository, this is where you put it. Whatever you don't want to send to your Git repository, this is where you put it. So in our case, since we don't want to send my env inside our repository, we now go ahead and type my env with slash, then we save it. So if we save it, or rather before that, let's undo that. So to check what you're about to save with Git, we go ahead and type this command, git status. It will show you changes that are ready to be tracked. So you can see here we have my env. But what happens if we type my env in git ignore and save? Then we go for git status again. You can see that this my env that was here previously has been skipped here. It's been ignored, which is part of what Git does for us. So from here, we can go ahead and add everything. So if we type git status, we will see the file names of what you've created. But this time instead, in green color, which means these changes are set to be tracked. So after that, we now commit our changes. Let's call it initial commit and hit enter. So after this, if we type git status, you'd see that we can't find the previous file we have committed already. But then we can also check history of what you've committed using the git log command and hit enter. What can we see here? That we have created an initial commit. So after this, the coaches also encourage us to create our GitHub account. So for me, I happen to have a GitHub account. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my GitHub account. From here, I'll create a new repository. And the repository, I'll name it Django Girls Abuja. So it's public. After this, I'll go ahead and create repository. So after creating repository, we want to upload any changes we make to our code into GitHub to this place specifically. So if you look at this place, there is some commands to help us upload it into this particular repository online. So we have created our init, we have initialized our repository, we have added git ignore. So the next step for us is to add this remote origin. So we copy it, we come here, we paste it, then we hit enter. So it will set our origin to this particular place. So after that, we copy the next command. We're not going to add main here because the branch we have here is master, not main. So we paste it here, then we add master, and we hit enter. So if we hit enter, it may or may not ask you for your credentials. Since I've been using GitHub for long, it already have my credentials saved, my username and my password to GitHub. But if you do this for the first time, it's going to ask you to provide your username and your password to make sure that you are the one who owns this particular repository trying to make changes. So if we reload this page, we'll see that our changes has been effected. So you can see here, we have our manage.py, we have our git ignore, and you can browse all of them here. And if you open my blog and models, you find out that we have our blog models and we also have our post model. So which means we're almost set for the deployment. So going back to our tutorial, we've already done this and pushed our code to GitHub. So the next step is we're going to set up our blog on Python Anywhere. So to do that, we go to Python Anywhere. Python Anywhere.com, hit enter. So you can see I'm logged in already since I've created my account. The next, we are going to, according to our tutorial, they said we should open bash from our console on the dashboard. So if we go back to the dashboard, you can see that this is where the new console side is. And for that, we are going to click bash. So, and if we open bash, you can see we have a terminal, the same as this one. Let's clear this. So let's test some terminal commands here, ls. You can see the only thing we have here is readme. So from here, we're now going to pull our code from this GitHub. And to do that, on this green code button, you can see we have this URL here. This is the URL we're going to use. We'll click on this copy by the side. Then we come back here. We're going to clone it. Then we check git clone. Then we paste. So I can't paste. Oh, sorry. I pasted it multiple times. My apologies. So git clone, then we paste. If we paste it and hit enter, what it's going to do is it's going to come to this our GitHub page, copy everything we have here to this console. So, you know, initially when I listed the items in the directory, we only have readme.txt. But if I now clone this and type ls, what happens? We have Django Girls Abuja. So if we change directory into Django Girls Abuja, you can see it has activated our Git repository inside here. So which means we can also do Git status from this. We can also check our log, Git log from this. Let's clear our. So we can also check our status. So we can check our log, Git log. Then we hit enter. You can see it just the same as we have it here. So what you've basically done is we've taken our code from my computer, uploaded it to my GitHub, and in turn uploaded it to my Python Anywhere account. So moving forward, we've cloned it. Then we move next. I have this in place already. So the next step is we cd into Django YALS, which you've done it already. Let's go through it again. Let's clear. So we're going to cd into Django YALS and hit enter. So our tutorial tells us to create a virtual environment on Python Anywhere. So you can see the reason why we decided to add my env to git ignore so that GitHub does not, so that we do not upload it into GitHub. So for that, let's go ahead. So this is the command it's using. But in our own case, we are not going to use Python 3.5 since it's out of date. So we're going to use Python 3.9. So we've changed directory. We go ahead. Virtual env. Python, my env. Okay. Virtual env minus Python equals 3.9. Then let's call it my underscore env. Then hit enter. Okay. It says path to Python 3 does not exist. My apologies. I made a typographical error. It's supposed to be Python 3.9, not just 3.9. Python 3.9. Then we hit enter. What's happening? Okay. Oh, so the problem is that Python Anywhere does not support Python 3.9 yet. But that's not going to be a problem Since Python 3.6, what will work in Python 3.6 will work in Python 3.9, and what will also work in Python 3.9 will work in Python 3.6, unless you are going very deep into Django. Sorry, you are going very deep into Django and Python. That's where you are going to have this disparities. So after that, we now move ahead and install Django. So for our case, we activate our virtual environment first. My env slash my env slash bin slash activate. We're not using slash script slash activate since we are not on Windows, but rather we are on Linux. So it says, okay, we're supposed to add source, then hit enter. You can see that my env is activated here. So let me clear my console. Then after this, we'll now go ahead and install Django. You can see the crazy internet speed, 16 megabytes per second. I wish I have that. So while it's done installing, let's go through the one again, our tutorial. So creating database, okay. So we're going to go ahead with this. Okay. So we can also go ahead and create the database, as in this case. But since we did not ignore our database, this db.sqlite tree, we did not ignore it in our git ignore. As such, we still have the same database we're using on my computer online. So there is no need for us to create another super user. We're going to maintain the post we've created already, and we're going to maintain my user account I've created already. So you can now go ahead and skip that part. Then here we come to publishing our app. So after this, we can now go back to the dashboard. You can go back to the dashboard, then go to web. So here, what we are going to do is we're going to create a new web app. So if we click on add new web app, then here it's asking for our domain. Since we're using the free account right now, we do not have choice over our domain, but rather it's going to use our username. So for my case, my username is Bunia, and that's what it's using. So we're going to click next. So after that, we're going to select Django. Then we'll select we have a virtual env already. So we don't need to select any Python version here. Let's go back to our manual. Okay. Maybe we should cancel this. Let's start the process again. new. Next. Manual configuration. We're supposed to click manual configuration. My apologies for clicking Django. So since according to our tutorial, it says we should click on manual configuration. So let's go back, click on manual configuration. So if you remember, we installed Python 3.6. So I'm going to select it. Then we go next. After this, it's going to request for our virtual env, I think. So if you come down here, slash home, slash Bunya, okay. So slash home, slash, let's open a new console here. You can see we have this console running already. So let's continue working on it. And let's check our current working directory. Here we have it slash home, slash Bunya, slash Django Girls Abuja. So we're going to copy this, then come back here and paste it. Then we'll add slash my env, which is the virtual environment we're going to use. So you can see it has found it. And so it means we're good to go. So after this, let's go back to our tutorial. The next, we go for the WSG. Then we go for WXGI configuration file. We now come here. Then we go to Django Girls Abuja. Then we open my site where we'll see this guy WSGI. WSGI, yes. Then we now select it. No, I'm not supposed to select it. Okay. Let's go back. Okay. So our tutorial says to open this guy. After this, we'll now come back here, then copy the content of this guy, come back, and replace it here. So after this, we save. Okay. For this guy, we replace this. with the name of our application, with the name of our repository, sorry, then we save. So I can see I'm having a syntax error here, but I don't know what's wrong. Okay, the problem is indentation. So let's save it. You can see the error is gone. So after saving, we can now go back, then attend to our I did another mistake. I was supposed to replace this with my username. So Banya, then we save it. After saving it, then this guy, I think we used my site underscore. So we have to change this as well. So my site with underscore. Let's look at this. I think we are good to go. So we save this, we go back. So what does it say? So after this, they said our application is ready. So we reload this. Then we can now click on this link in a new tab. Okay, so here's another problem. One thing Django does is, anytime you want to upload your application to another URL, you need to allow the URL. This is for security purpose, so that someone doesn't hijack your website. So for this, what we're going to do is, we'll copy this, then come back here. Since we have file editor here, we go to our files, we go to Django Jobs Abuja, my site, and open settings. So if you open settings, you'll find out that there is this allowed host on line 28. What you'll do is you come here and add a string of the websites you're going to allow. You save it, then we come back here and reload. What's wrong? Oh, after saving, we need to go back and reload our Django application by clicking this. So if we reload it, it's going to help us effect any change we make. Then we can now come back here and reload this page. So you can see our Django is up and running. So we are online. If you are on your computer or mobile phone, you can copy this particular address. You can copy this address and open it on your browser, and it will take you to this page. So whoever, anywhere someone is, they can access this particular page. So from here, we'll go ahead and check our admin page. Sorry, admin page. You can see it. Let me send the link through the chat. So copy this and open it on your browser, and it will show you the page of our Django. So, Banya, D-O-N-N-O-N-T-E. So, you can see we have our blog posts online already. Mind you that I am not running this from my computer. In fact, if I stop my server, it wouldn't interrupt this. So I am running this guy strictly online. Of course, you can see the ones we've created. We can also create another one. Let's call it how to create your blog with Django, part 3. So after this, let's go to lorem ipsum, generate text, copy it, come back here, post, set the creator to the the time to now. Then let's save it. And you can see we have our third entry online. So our app is live. After this, then we are going to Django URLs. What is a URL? A URL, I think they call it, it means uniform resource locator. It's more like a house address in that if you are looking for me, you come to my house address, you see me. So also if you're looking for a certain resource, maybe a picture, a video, a web page, if you go to its URL, you're going to find it there. So next, how do URLs work in Django? So if we open up our URLs, if we go to my site, you open up URLs. Let me adjust the size. You open up URLs, you can see that there is this admin, there is path, there is also admin that side of URLs. So what this is doing is, this is the global URLs handler. Anytime you make a request, let's come here.
How are you?
So anytime we make a request, anytime we make a request to Python anywhere and add admin to it, and we hit send, what Django does is it will check its patterns here. Does it have anything that has to do with admin? If yes, then what is it doing? So by calling path, this particular path, it's going to Django, it's going to admin. This particular admin, which is imported from Django, it's part of the core packages of Django. It's one of the features that Django is providing. It will go there, then go to the site folder and find its URLs file and append them here. So, which is why it's going to allow us, if we log in, we can navigate to users, we can navigate to blog posts, and any other URL available on the admin. But what happens when we click on, when we provide a URL or path that is not available here? Let's provide a Django path. Let's say /Django. So you can see what it says here. The page is not found. And it shows us the URL patterns that are currently available. So which means we cannot open any URL that is not available under this particular domain. So if you go back to admin, you can see it's open. You can log in peacefully. Then despite this, from here also, if you add another jargon and hit enter, it will tell you failed, and also list out the URLs available for you to use here. So after this, next, we're going to create our Django view. So let's assume you have created your awesome blog application, and you don't want everybody to see this admin panel. You want to just give them their own place where they can either create, or you want to show it to the public. Obviously, you don't want the public coming to this admin panel, editing and deleting your models. So for that, we are going to use Django views. So let's go to our URLs. First off, we need to create a URL file. Unlike the general one we have here, we go to our blog application, we create a URL file here. So for that, we can use our git bash to do it. Let's cd into blog, then we touch urls.py and hit enter. You can see that it has created it here for us. We can now close this, close this, close this, close this. Then we drag this, the blog URLs here. So after that, we are going to make a few imports. So let's open the global URLs also. So from the manual I have here, you can see that it's importing URLs. And if you scroll down, it's using some magic here, regular expressions, that's what they call it. But with the advancement in Django, it has been made easy in that you don't need to import URL, but rather from Django, you're going to import path instead. So we go ahead from Django.urls, import path. So after that, we can now create our own URL patterns. So the first URL we want to create is the URL for listing our posts. So for that, we go ahead and provide this. Let's give it a name of post list. So after that, we're going to go ahead and import our views file. Our views file is this particular guy in the blog, this file. So we haven't created the view yet, but we're going to create the URL. Afterwards, we now go back, create the view and bind them together. So next, we're going to call it views that post lists. So if you notice here, we did not provide anything here, unlike this guy. So by not providing anything here, we're telling it that if you go to, before that, let's register our blog's URL. So if we come here, instead of using path, since we're not going to import our blog up here, we are going to use include. So we'll now do this, include. Let's give it a blog slash, sorry, we'll say path, blog slash, then we include blog URLs. So what this does is, if you remember from the previous session, when we created our blogs app, we registered it to Python global settings. So what this include does is, it will go and look for this particular app in our installed apps, then look for the URLs file. If it cannot find it, it will raise an error. But if it does find it, then fine. So when it finds it, and the first path we have here is empty. We've not added anything or whatsoever. So what it does is, it will take this guy, this block that we have here, like this, and then take whatever we have here. In this case, since we don't have anything here, if you go to your url.com/blog, it's automatically going to show you this page that will list the blogs. So let's go ahead and create our views. We'll open our views file. So, and here we are going to create our views. So for that, we'll now scroll down here. First, let's define our post list. request, and let's return hello world. But in this case, since we have not pushed it to our Git repository, so we are going to do it locally using our command prompt. So we'll go ahead and run our server. So you can see our server is about running. We copy this URL, then come here. So if you come here, you can see it tells us that it's not found. Unlike formally where it shows us that, okay, our application has been installed, you can also see that it added this blog. Unlike the first time when we encountered an error, it only showed us admin. So we copy this blog, same which is /blog, and we hit enter. So you can see it's giving us errors here. So for that, we need to fix. So instead of return hello world, let's go to our tutorial and see what they have for us. So from here, we return render request, comma, then blog slash host list .html, comma, and this guy. So what this guy does is, this HTML is a template. And for us to have it, to have our view recognize it, we're going to go back to our Django Girls folder. Then we'll create a new folder and call it templates. Then inside templates, we'll create a new folder and call it blog. And inside blog, we'll create a new file. Sorry. We'll create a new file and call it host underscore list .html. So we save this, we hit enter. So we save this, then we come back here and reload. Go back to our browser, we reload it. So you can see it's saying that the template does not exist. So, and to fix that, we are now going to HTML. HTML, in simple terms, is a markup language. It is a language that is used to display anything on the web. So for that, our tutorial has a template already for us. So it says we should go to our blog folder. Inside our blog folder, we create a folder called templates. So after that, we now open it and create a folder called blog. Then inside this blog, we can now create a new template called post underscore list .html. We hit enter. So if we now go back to our page, I reload it. Or maybe we have to restart our server. Then we reload this page. You can see that it's given us a blank page instead of the error. So, which goes to tell us that Django has recognized the presence of our post list.html. So let's confirm that we're adding hello world and save. Then we reload our page. You can see we have hello world here. So it means our template has worked. So going forward, we can now come here and create the following tag. Since the time is not on our side, we're just going to go ahead and copy this HTML tag. And if we copy it and paste it here, it should appear beautifully. So let's call it blog. So I want you to take note of this top here, where my cursor is this place. You can see that it's only displaying our URL. But from the HTML we added, you can see this has now changed to Bunya's blog. So this is part of the beauty of HTML. This head, anything that's inside this head is concerning this top here, while everything inside this body is concerning this page, the display we are getting on our browser. So moving forward, then we look at our template. We have some more data here. And for that, we are going to copy this guy. And we'll replace it here. Then we are going to indent it beautifully. So if we reload this page, you can see we have these guys here. So you can see that our Django JS blog is coming up. So then going by our tutorial, says we should now go ahead and push it and deploy. So let's go back to our Git terminal. Then we say Git status. You can see all the changes we've made. You can see the changes it's tracking and the others. So we now do git add, git commit. For this, let's call it second commit. Then hit enter. So if we check our git log, so far we've done 2 commits, and here we have them. First one and the second one. While here it's telling us that the head is at master, while here it's at origin master. So this is telling us that this is where our GitHub repository is at. So for us to update it, we go ahead and push git push. Then we hit enter. So if we go back to our browser, you can see here its initial commit. We refresh it, and we have the second commit. So next up, we'll now go to our Python Anywhere console, which we have opened already. And you know, this is where we had our own repository. So you can see after git log, it's still at the initial commit. While we have uploaded our second commit. So to get it up to date, there is this command called pull. So we go ahead and git pull. So we are pulling it from our GitHub into our Python anyway. So, and if you update it, and if you check our log again, you can see that we have 2 commits. So coming back here now, if we go to our site, sorry, I need to reload this. So it's done reloading. Then if I load this page and go to /blog, it's telling me it didn't match anything. So for that, let's check and see what the problem is. Since our app has not updated yet, still yet to update. So let's see the files. Oh, we can see that the files are here already. We have our URLs file, which has everything inside. So let's go back. Let's go to web and reload. So we have loaded it. Now we can now open it. Since testing still not working. For some reason, it is not working. So for now, we're going to ignore this and continue with our development locally without using Python anywhere. So let's go to our tutorial. So after this, next, since we have established that we can use HTML to display this particular text like this, how about we now use Django to fetch all this post we have here? Let's open it. We use Django to fetch the posts we have here and display them here dynamically. I think that will be awesome. So for that, we're going to need to use a Django tool called query sets. So what query set does is, it will help us pull all the objects that we want. So but before that, we're going to do a small test. And for that, we'll call Python manage.py shell. If you call Python, just Python only, it will not help you initialize Django. But if you call Python manage.py with shell, it will help you initialize Django. And so we go ahead and import Django. Then we now call Django.setup. So after this, we'll now go ahead and call and import our post model. So we say from blog.models import posts. So we can now go ahead one step further and say that posts is equal to post dot objects dot all. Small letter. So if you type posts, sorry, if you type posts, we can see that it's a list of the posts we have on our admin dashboard. So if we check it, you can see that here we have how to create blog with Django, which we also have here, and how to create a blog with Django part 2, we also have it here. So what the query set does is it gives us access to all this information. So since this posts is a list, I can decide to get the first one. If I call the title, it will give me the title. If I call the text, it will give me the information that we have there. You can see it. And if I call that author, it will give me an instance of user. So from here, I can also say that author.user name, which is supposed to be Bunya, and we have it here. So for now, this is all for our query set. So let's go ahead and clear this guy and go back. So let's see how we can now put this guy in our views. So coming back to our views, just like we did on the shell, we are going to import the model. So you know, say from .models import posts. So coming back here, we'll now say our posts is equal to post objects dot all. Then we can save it. Let's come back here and see. So here, the tutorial here is offering us an option to filter it by the publish date. So let's go ahead and
Hello, coach.
copy this. Hello, because I'm back online. So for our post, for us to expose our post onto the HTML template we created, we are going to go ahead and and collect the posts from the database using this code that the documentation gives us. What it's saying is, from all the post objects that we have, we should get all of them and filter them by their publish date. And the publish date has to be at least now. The filter date has to be those that have been published either today or the dates before today. That is what this long line of text is saying, long line of code is saying. So if you save this, then since if you remember, we haven't published any of our posts. So let's come back here, open this. So here's my server. I haven't started my server. So let me start it again. So as soon as I have an error, so come back here. Yes. So I'm importing from modules, not modes. Save it. Come back to this guy. You can see that it has finished reloading already since it didn't find any errors. So let's try again. And you can see that it's opened for us. So let's set the publish date to yesterday. Save it. Then come to this Django part 2. Let's set its own publish date to yesterday as well. Save it. Then let's create another post, which we will set its publish date to tomorrow, so that we can see whether Django will respect our wish of wanting to fetch only those that have been published. So let's save it. After this, then let's go back to our tutorial and see how we can save it, how we can display it. So here, for us to display it, we have what is called template tags. And template tags, they're just these variables, what you are passing here, this dictionary here. If I come here, let's come to the end of the line and create our div and type posts. Since I've passed them here, I should expect to see them on my page here. I did not import time zone from Django.utils. Import time zone, save it, load our page. Posts. Let's fix this. So let's reload our page. So you can see here, I only have an additional text of posts instead of it to display what I queried. But what if I come back to it and add it in curly braces like this and save, then reload? You can see what happens. It showed me query set, just like when I opened my shell. So also from here, I can decide to get the first one and display its text. If I save and reload, let's go back. So posts, see? Let's reload. So apparently there's a problem with that. Django does not agree with what I'm trying to do. So the bottom line is we have this guy here, which means we have exposed our query. And if you remember, we set publish date of how to create a blog with Django, part 1 and part 2 to yesterday, while part 3 we set it to tomorrow. And we queried only blog posts that have been published. And here we can see it. These are the only ones that have been published. So from here, now go ahead, check our tutorial and see how we display it. So let's, see how we display it. So from here, we can also have for loops in our posts, in our tags. And to do that, we are going to start with curly braces followed by percentage, sorry, apology, followed by percentage, then ending in curly braces. So for post, in posts, let's have this guy post. So the difference is, anytime you're using the tags, if you're using something like if or for loops, you need to specify where you end the for loop. Else, there will be a problem. So you can see it expected end for, not end space for. Load. You can see we have it. Here they are. Let's add a break. So if you do it this way, you can see the first one. You can also see the second one. So let's go back to our tutorial. You can see we have it. So if we now go back and decide to adopt our posts, just the way we have this guy here, just the way we have it beautifully beautifully placed here. So we now go back to our template, and we're going to do something like this. We copy this guy, paste it. Then we'll now call posts dot published shift date. Then we'll copy this guy, paste it here. And since this is the title, let's copy. Assalamu alaikum. Hello there. Alhamdulillah. Ina ɗan guce, ɗan fudiyo, sorry. Na ga call ɗinka, ina yin raguwan session ɗin wancan virtual event ne da na ce ma. Amma wannan ne last one for me. So, okay. 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 Insha Allah, yeah, zan iya sa sosai ma. Zan iya sa tunda in 10 minutes time za mu gama. In 10 minutes time. Na ce in 10 minutes time za mu gama, so zan iya sawa. Yawa. So, okay. So, hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Wait. Did I answer my call on air?
Yes, you did.
My apologies. So let's continue. So we'll replace this post to the title. Then we'll go to the next one. Let's call the p tag. And we're going to have post the text and save it. So if we do this, we can go ahead and get rid of these guys confidently. And we are going to see our blog post here. So we can say it. But the way it's looking, it's not really looking nice. And for that, we are going to truncate the text a little bit. We are going to reduce the amount of text we have. So in this case, let's do it this way. And let's have the first 50 characters. And reload it. So What's happening? Let's see how they do it here. What's this? You can see they have this men's break. Control. Let's see this. Let's reload. So you can see we have the first iteration of our Django blog in place. So far so good. The next section is using CSS, which is going to be taken by the next coach. By using CSS, we're going to make it pretty, such that it's going to be as beautiful as our Django Girls Abuja website. You can see our Django Girls Abuja website. Everything is looking beautiful. We have images, and we have done some CSS editings and stuff. So that's what CSS will help you to do. So far so good. We have done the HTML. We have it displayed. We can now see our blog. Anytime we go to this particular URL and then go to /blog, if you go to /blog, you can see it appearing. So in the future sessions, the other coaches will take you on how to make it beautiful and how to read all these individual blogs. So I think we are done for today. I initially intended to take 1 hour, but it so happens that it will not be finished under 1 hour. So please, I'm apologizing on behalf of myself that I'm sorry it took us almost 2 hours to complete this session. So I'll see you next time, or rather the next coach will see you next time, while I'll be around for further guidance in case of those people who have errors and the rest. So thank you very much for joining us on this session from Benyaminu, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach. We are so grateful for running us through this session. Thank you, everyone, for staying put up until now. Apologies once again. Like Coach already said, this is tech, and we are here to ensure that you get it and get it right. So yeah, he is always available for you to reach out to him and ask any questions that you might have to gain more clarifications and all of that. He's always available on the group. Feel free to reach out to him. All right. Do not forget that this week we'll be having our last session, which is we'll be coming up on Friday and on Saturday. Please endeavor to be part of this session. Let's conclude this. Like he has already said, we're going to be doing CSS and going in depth this time around. You don't want to miss out on the next session. So for now, thank you all very much. The link to the replay of this video will be dropped on the WhatsApp group very soon. Do not forget to tweet and retweet your experiences so far. We are monitoring, and we're going to be picking our winner for our prize. All right, also for now, just have a lovely holiday, rest well, and ensure to practice all that you have learned today, because practice makes perfect. Okay, anticipate the link to the replay video, and see you all later on. I remain Inemesit Hansen. Cheers from everyone at Django Girls Abuja. Bye.